coming up, the 4 key roles in change, what they do, and how their absence will impact your work. Hi, I'm Stuart Taylor and I make videos about project management and related topics. If that's the kind of thing you want to watch, hit the subscribe button. In 2000, Mary Beth O'Neill identified 4 leadership roles that are required for successful change management to take place: the sponsor, the implementer, the advocate, and the change agent. Keep in mind, these are roles. The people carrying out the roles may have different job titles. Nobody's running around introducing themselves at networking events and parties as advocates and implementers. It's easy to look at these roles on paper and see what they do, but what would happen if they were missing? What impact would that have on your projects? Would there even be projects or change without them? Let's see. And I want you thinking about your projects and letting me know in the comments if this exercise reveals any gaps in your change environment. The advocate has an idea about how a change can happen. They tend to be passionate and highly motivated. You've probably encountered this person as a department head whose team's work is being impeded by some inefficient processes or bad tools. Or someone that's not having problems, but they've just spotted a great opportunity to improve some aspect of the business, like new technologies, new services, and so on. Often this person can be the requester of the change. They're not always in positions of power though to make the change happen by themselves, so they need to find a sponsor for their change. And a great way to do this is by aligning their issues with those that are important to the potential sponsor. For example, maybe the sponsor has committed to reducing headcount and the advocate's found a way to improve automation. The sponsor may see that as aligned to their goals and start supporting the initiative. A shortage of ideas is never a good thing. If you see the project pipeline where you work isn't getting reloaded with new initiatives, maybe have a chat with some potential advocates you've met in the organization. They may have ideas but not be aware of how to promote them. You could probably help them and, in the process, land yourself a new project. But without an advocate, you've got no idea and you've got no project. You're probably sitting at home in your pajamas watching this video, waiting for the phone to ring. But whatever you're wearing, make sure to give this video a like if you're getting value from it. The sponsor has the authority to make change happen. Whether they've been ordered to direct the required change from above or decided to pick it up for themselves, they're instrumental in the success of the change. Whoever they are, they must be empowered to make decisions on the use of resources, including budgets, time, and people. Without a sponsor, there's no clear route to getting permission to secure the resources for the project, no one with authority to make the big decisions, and no one to help remove the blockages you may face. Without a sponsor, you may not have a project to be part of. The implementer reports to the sponsor and is responsible for implementing the change. Does that role sound a little familiar to you? They're responsible for informing the sponsor of progress of the change, which includes whenever things are not going well. The implementer is getting things done on a day-to-day basis, and without them, probably nothing gets done. So if you don't have an implementer, what may happen is the sponsor will have the burden of the project to deliver resting entirely on them. They may end up having to coordinate the whole effort, but despite their seniority, they may not have the dedicated skills for doing this role, so the chances of success would be poor. And those chances would be worsened by the fact that such a senior person would have other major responsibilities in the business that they need to turn the focus to. The change agent is the facilitator of change. They help the sponsor and the implementer to stay aligned with each other. They have no direct authority over the implementer, but they act as an educator, a coach, an advisor, and a facilitator. In the absence of a change agent, you could argue that the sponsor and the implementer will just have to work a little harder to be aligned, giving the impression that the change agent is an optional extra. But what you'd probably find is you'd lose the ability to relate to the human side of the change, maybe even the conscience of the project. If the advocate is focused on the outcome, the sponsor's focused on the strategic goals, and the implementer's focused on the tools and processes, you'll need the change agent to remind everyone that people are involved and impacted. I know a lot of change agents who operate outside of O'Neill's definition, with much greater involvement in the holistic view of multiple changes in the organization, and they possess a great understanding of the bigger picture. So if we go back to the original question of what would happen without the change agent, the change would be delivered, but it would be less humane and less aligned to other changes, and that would make it less beneficial and less popular. If the topic of organisational change appeals to you, consider watching my video on Kubler-Ross for project managers. It encourages you to think a little about the emotional impact that your changes are having on your stakeholders. A younger, handsomer version of me will see you there.